Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, Mike Lindell sent me a note yesterday. He has a special for the 6-piece towel set, $25 when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. You'll get the $25 offer on the 6-piece towel set, and I promise you, these will be the most comfortable, the most absorbent towels that you own. mypillow.com, use promo code Joey, get the 6-piece towel set for just $25. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in. We have a lot to cover today. A defiant Joe Biden insisting to his donors yesterday that he is done talking about the debate. Quote, "I'm done talking about the debate," he said multiple times, and implored the party to ignore any further distractions and direct its attention back to Donald Trump, the president said. We have all the details for you. Also, Biden yesterday challenged unhappy Democrats to try to take him out at the party's August convention during a phone call with his favorite talk show host, MSNBC's Morning Joe show. We have that for you as well. Speaking of radio, Philadelphia radio station WURD announced that they would be cutting ties with the host Andrea Lawful-Sanders after she revealed that she had asked President Biden during an interview last week the questions that the White House had sent over to her. More details on that. And add 4 more to the list, the growing list of senior Democrats calling for Joe Biden to step aside. Glad to have you in. Your comments are welcome. Your text messages, you can send me a quick text. You can email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Appreciate all of the notes that I received during my week off last week. Actually, it wasn't a week off. We had just a wonderful group of patriots. It was our Alaskan Patriot Cruise with Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Mike Gallagher, Los Angeles host Jennifer Horn, Philadelphia host Chris DeGaulle, and yours truly. We accompanied just over 400 enthusiastic patriots on an Alaskan cruise. I've never been to Alaska, and I have to say, boy, is it beautiful. And but what was the best part of the trip, though, is I am so encouraged after spending a week with a group of patriots. I'm hopeful that we're going to turn this country around because, boy, did we have a great group with us last week. And look, let me encourage you. If we do another one next year, which we probably will, be listening for it because you're going to want to join us. I can't stress enough just how hopeful, how encouraged I feel after spending a week with people from all over the country who came to talk with fellow patriots, fellow conservatives, have a good time. We had a good time. I mean, you cannot not have a good time on a cruise ship. But wow, again, I feel so encouraged after talking with so many people from I was going to say all 50 states. I don't know if we had someone from all 50 states or not. Maybe. But we did have over 400 with us.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Let's jump right in. A defiant Joe Biden yesterday insisted to a group of donors that he's done talking about the debate. You could tell that he's very frustrated. He said, "We need to move forward. Look, we've roughly 40 days till the convention, 120 days till the election. We can't waste any more time being distracted," he said. This was a private phone call with donors yesterday, according to a recording that was obtained and the transcript released by Politico. Meanwhile, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre refused yesterday to explain a Parkinson's expert's 8 recent visits to the executive mansion, citing, quote, security reasons, despite the visitor logs being public. During some rather tense exchanges during her regular briefing, Jean-Pierre refused to say what those security concerns surrounding Dr. Kevin Kennard's visits might be, and at one point accused correspondents of engaging in personal attacks. Here's the exchange.
It's a very basic, direct question.
Wait. Hold on. Wait a second.
Eight times, or at least once, in regards to the president specifically.
Hold on a second.
That's what you should be able to answer by this point.
Wait, no. No, wait a minute. Ed, please. A little respect here, please. So, every year, around the president's physical examination, he sees a neurologist. That's 3 times, right? So I am telling you that he has seen a neurologist 3 times while he has been in this presidency. That's what I'm saying. I am telling you that he has seen them 3 times. That is what I'm sharing with you, right? So every time he has a physical, he has had to see a neurologist. So that is answering that question.
No, it's not.
No, it is. It is. You're asking me.
Kevin Kennard come to the White House.
But I also said to you, Ed, I also said to you, for security reasons, we cannot share names. We cannot share names.
You cannot
we
share
have
names
to. We have
of
to.
Others he would have met with.
We
but
cannot.
You can share names in regards to if someone came here in regards to the president.
We cannot share names of specialists broadly, from a dermatologist to a neurologist. We cannot share names. There are security reasons. We have to protect.
It's public.
I understand that.
I hear you. It's right there for anyone to see.
Ed, I hear you. I cannot from here confirm any of that because we have to keep their privacy.
Now, does that make any sense whatsoever? We cannot keep, we can't confirm it because we have to keep their privacy? So, according to a report in the New York Post, the White House residence has a small doctor's office where Joe Biden is typically seen, or any president for that matter. There's a larger doctor's office in the Eisenhower Executive Office building, which is the building, the older building right next door to the White House. If you've ever driven down Pennsylvania Avenue, you see the two side by side, although the White House sort of dominates the view there. This larger doctor's office is considered part of the White House complex, and where a lot of troops and other administration officials are treated. Kennard's visits included a January meeting with presidential physician Dr. Kevin O'Connor that was first highlighted Saturday over the weekend by the New York Post in wake of the president's disastrous debate performance, and now a lot of people calling for a cognitive test. Biden had a physical in February, according to the White House, and said afterwards that he did not have Parkinson's. As you heard in the clip, Jean-Pierre said at the briefing that Biden has only seen a neurologist 3 times as president at each of his annual physical exams. She painstakingly avoided ruling out the possibility that Kennard was visiting the White House to consult on Biden's health. Ed O'Keefe from CBS News, he's the one you could hear at times asking the question and pushing, kind of pressing Karine Jean-Pierre, said, "They're in the White House visitor logs. It's public. I looked it up before I came out here. It is right there for anyone to see." And he's right. It doesn't make sense that if he could look it up prior to walking into this news conference, why won't she admit that they were there? Why does she say that they have to keep it a secret because of security reasons? Fine security reasons those are, if you can look it up in a public journal, where everybody who goes in and out of the White House, or goes in and out legally, we know Hunter sneaks in and out, has to be logged in. This doctor was logged in, according to reports, 8 times. Jean-Pierre said, "I cannot from here confirm any of that because we have to keep their privacy." I think they would appreciate that too. Whose privacy is she concerned about? The doctors or the president's? I think you know the answer to that. Later, Mr. O'Donnell pointed out that reporters were merely seeking clarity and noted that Biden could choose to make his medical records immediately, make them public immediately by waiving his protections under federal law. Look, if Joe Biden wants this constant questioning to go away, all he has to do is release his medical reports. It's not unheard of. Presidents do it all the time. And if I were Joe Biden and I really didn't have anything to hide, I would just have a cognitive test. In fact, I'd do it publicly. Let a couple of select media be in the room while it's being conducted and publicize the results. If you have nothing to hide, why would you not want to do that to kind of quiet this whole debate? According to the New York Post, Dr. Kennard works at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. He's made early morning visits to the White House residents 7 times between July of 2023 and March of 2024 this year. According to the report, he's there to meet with Megan Nosworthy, who coordinates primary care visits for the president and his family. At the an 8th meeting, according to the Post, took place at 5 p.m. on January the 17th with physician to the president, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, and Dr. John Atwood, cardiologist at Walter Reed. I mean, it would seem that these folks, that these doctors are comparing notes. You agree? So you tell me, what's Joe Biden trying to hide here? Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Firmin Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Soon going to be 4 years ago that I started my journey with PhD weight loss and nutrition. I lost 30 pounds pretty quickly, I might add, and I've been able to maintain that for almost 4 years now. It'll be 4 years coming up in July. If this is the year that you have decided that you're going to get healthy, that you're going to lose that weight, that visceral fat that's so damaging around your waist, then now's the time to start. Let me encourage you to make that call today. 864-252-4925. Set up your initial consultation with PhD weight loss and nutritionist. Boy, am I glad that I met Dr. Ashley Lucas 4 years ago and that she got me on the right path to getting healthy. You're going to be able to do things that you may have thought you'd never be able to do again. Play with the kids, the grandkids, be able to hike and walk and maybe play a full 18-round hole of golf and be able to do it and not get so winded. Because when you take that excess weight off, you're just going to feel better. You're going to be able to focus. You're going to be able to sleep better. Your overall health is just going to be improved. 864-252-4925. Call, set up your initial consultation. Find them online at myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. So, Philadelphia radio station WURD announced Sunday that they are cutting ties with host Andrea Lawful-Sanders after she revealed that she had asked President Joe Biden's interview questions. This was on the radio interview that he did last week. He did 2. This was one of trying to explain his poor performance in the previous week's debate. Evidently, the Biden administration, or the Biden campaign, I guess I should say, had sent questions to Miss Lawful-Sanders prior to the interview. These were so-called suggestion questions. WURD president and CEO Sarah Lomax stated the predetermined questions not only violated their, quote, practice of remaining an independent media outlet, but the interview was also arranged and negotiated independently by Lawful-Sanders, according to a statement posted on the station's radio station's website. The Lomax wrote, on July 3rd, the first post-debate interview with President Joe Biden was arranged and negotiated independently by WURD radio host Andrea Lawful-Sanders without knowledge, consultation, or collaboration with WURD management. The interview featured predetermined questions provided by the White House, which violates our practice of remaining an independent media outlet accountable to our listeners. As a result, Ms. Lawful-Sanders and WURD Radio have mutually agreed to part ways effective immediately. I don't think there's any mutual agreement there. Do you? Do you think Lawful-Sanders mutually agreed that she would leave her probably a pretty well-paid position? Philadelphia is I think like market number 3. So to be doing morning radio in Philadelphia, that's a pretty big deal. Lawful-Sanders hosted 96.1 FM's The Source, conducted this interview last Wednesday, post-debate. The former host revealed to CNN that she had been offered 8 questions to ask Biden, ultimately approving and using 4 of them, according to her. Lomax continued to call out the standard of the company when it came to questioning the White House, stating the station is, quote, not a mouthpiece for the Biden or any other administration. Earlier this year, when WURD Radio was invited to the White House on February 26 to host a day-long live broadcast featuring interviews with cabinet secretaries and other high-ranking officials, we agreed with the explicit understanding that we are not constrained to their suggested topics or talking points. We were clear that our hosts would ask difficult and provocative questions of their own determination based on the needs and interests of WURD's listening audience. Black Philadelphians, she said. This is a hallmark of WURD Radio's local, state, and national coverage day in and day out, Ms. Lomax wrote. This practice of delegitimizing black voices continues today. WURD Radio is not a mouthpiece for the Biden or any other administration. Internally, we will commit to reviewing our policies, procedures, and practices to reinforce WURD's independence and trust with our listeners. But mainstream media should do its own introspection to explore how they have lost the trust of so many Americans, black Americans chief among them, she wrote. While the Biden campaign has remained adamant that they did not manage the process, they would no longer be offering suggested questions, according to a spokesperson from the White House. What do you think? Is the idea that the White House suggested questions, is that really such a big deal? Love to get your comments. Send me a quick text message, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. You know, in all fairness, and I'm not defending this lady because a campaign is quite different, but quite often when I'm sent a book, for example, for a review, and I get books all the time. I get to read a lot of books. When I'm sent a book, the publicist of that book, when they're trying to schedule an interview with the author of the book, for example, I quite often have Bill O'Reilly on. Bill O'Reilly's Killing Series. They're great books. I've had Bill O'Reilly on I don't know how many times over the years. Quite often, the publicist will send me a synopsis, a summary of the book with some bullet points. Now, they don't send me questions, but they're just kind of making it easier for me as a host to know a summary of the book for me to formulate my own questions. It appears, though, in this case, the questions were actually sent. Not just some suggestions, but actual questions. And hey, Lawful-Sanders is not the only one. Following her admission that she had used campaign-approved questions, Milwaukee WMCS host Earl Ingram, who also interviewed Joe Biden, came forward over the weekend and revealed to ABC News that he also was offered 5 questions, he said, by the Biden campaign. He used 4 of them, 4 of the 5. He said in his interview with ABC, yes, I was given some questions for Biden. And Mr. Ingram is a very prominent radio host of Civi Media, who is a longtime supporter of Biden, by the way. He was speaking to ABC News over the weekend when the questions arose. Ingram did not respond to questions from other media outlets. And there's not an update yet as to whether or not his employer may be seeking to terminate their relationship as well. Should he lose his job as well? Ingram was, again, one of 2 black radio hosts, and we all know why Joe Biden chose 2 black radio hosts to talk with. He's still trying to reach the black audience because he knows that they're slowly slipping away. The interviews were scheduled in an effort to reassure voters of the president's abilities after the disaster of a debate. Should he lose his job as well? Should any radio host who receives questions and actually asks the questions, should they lose their job? I mean, both of these knew that this was probably not the right thing to do. In fact, this Mr. Ingram did not mention that he had pre-written questions submitted by the White House in an earlier interview with the Journal-Sentinel. He only told ABC this after his cohort from Philadelphia admitted that she had received questions. So I'm sure he probably thought, well, it's only a matter of time when they're going to realize that I, too, received the questions as well. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Firmin Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself if you're looking for a new appliance to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com. dawpickens.com. It's a pleasure to be back in town. I had a great time last week, I'll admit that, on our Patriot Alaska cruise, but it's good to be back in. Boy, could I have not picked a worse breaking news week than last week. There was so much that happened last week as I was on the Patriots Alaska cruise with my buddies Mike Gallagher and Seb Gorka. Of course, the big discussion now, after Joe Biden's disastrous debate, of course, he tried to salvage things with a interview with George Stephanopoulos on ABC. He did the two black radio stations that we just talked about a minute ago. One of those having lost her job now because she asked the questions provided by the Biden administration. Is Joe Biden going to be the eventual Democrat nominee? There's a chorus, the chorus is getting louder by the day, of Democrats who are calling for Joe Biden to step aside. Is there any scenario, though, that you believe he will actually do that he'll do what's best for his party? Now, I'm hoping he remains the candidate. I'm hoping his name is on the ticket because I want to see a rematch between Donald John Trump and Joe Biden. I want the American people to have another chance to get this right, to correct what they did wrong 4 years ago. But do you see any scenario that the Democrats might ultimately boot Joe from the ballot? It would actually take a lot to do that, as party rules require those delegates. And when Biden when he was asked again yesterday, and he was very adamant that he's going to remain in the race. And, of course, he uses the excuse of being that the delegates, that the people in the Democrat primaries elected him. And that's true. That is a true statement. Of course, they didn't really have another choice. But that's the dilemma that Democrat leaders have themselves in right now. Because according to party rules, there's so many of those delegates whom are going to the Democrat National Convention in Chicago in August because of the primaries and because of the people who overwhelmingly voted for Joe Biden during those primaries. These people were chosen as Biden delegates to the Democrat National Convention, just like we did for Donald Trump. Just like when we voted in our Republican primary to elect delegates to go to Milwaukee, of which I'll be in Milwaukee next week, giving you a firsthand report of what's happening in Milwaukee. So be sure and keep up with us next week, because we're going to give you all the information that you need from the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. But just like the delegates who will show up in Milwaukee next week to nominate President Donald Trump for another term, delegates to the Democrat National Convention will show up in Chicago in August to do likewise. Among those who forcefully, and this is an adjective used by Fox News, among those forcefully calling for Biden to stand down during the nearly 2-hour telephone call that was held on Sunday afternoon, this is according to Politico, were Representative Jerry Nadler, Representative Adam Smith, Mark Takano, and Joe Morrell. Several more senior House Democrats have called on Joe Biden to abandon his reelection bid during a private call convened by Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries also over the weekend. This according to several people who participated in that call. So you have the Democrats, particularly in Congress, because they see themselves losing even more Democrat congressional seats. And they're ready to jump ship, or actually they're ready to throw Joe Biden off of the ship because they know what a liability he's going to be come November. Other members on the call voiced concerns about Biden's path to victory in November, including Representative Jim Himes, he's from Connecticut, Zoe Lofgren from California, Don Beyer from Virginia, Rick Larson from the state of Washington. This doesn't bid well for the Biden campaign as the entire Democrat-elected apparatus, this Democrat machine, ready to take back a majority in the U.S. House and hopefully maintain and build on their lead in the U.S. Senate while retaining the White House, they realize it's not looking too good. And their standard bearer, Joe Biden, is not helping. Aaron Fritzner, Bayer's spokesperson, posted on X to push back on reports that Bayer called for a new nominee. He posted, "To be clear, Bayer supports President Biden and said on this call, and any reporting to the contrary is a misunderstanding of what he said and what he believes." And that's what we're seeing a lot of. We're seeing a lot of these Democrats speaking out, saying, and in some cases I think it's intentionally being leaked, saying that they want Joe Biden off the ticket, but then when the White House calls them out, when Joe Biden makes a personal phone call to them, they back down a little bit because they're cowards, because they have no backbone. If they had any backbone, they would take Joe Biden's challenge and try to remove him from the ticket in November, because that's exactly what Biden did. He challenged unhappy Democrats to take him out at the party's August convention during a phone call with his favorite radio talk show, MSNBC's Morning Joe. He called into Morning Joe yesterday, just moments after sending a letter to congressional Democrats assuring the host that he is not dropping out of the 2024 presidential race, despite all the calls within his own party for him to do so. He said if Democrats want him out, and this is on the interview, I'm going to let you hear it in just a moment, they should challenge him at the party's convention head to head.
Look, Joe, let's get something clear about 20 and 24. Not only were they wrong, I said they were wrong beforehand. I said we were going to win and how we're going to win. I didn't pretend about it. It wasn't like, oh, my God, I was surprised. I was not surprised. I predicted it. I knew what we were doing, number one. Number two, you may remember, I was one of the few people out there publicly saying before the 2022 election, there will be no red wave. There will be no red wave. Because I've been all over the country. I didn't believe it at all. And then in 2023, the key elections, I went into those races. Not every one of them, but a lot of them. And I said we were going to win. Look, we won those. So, Joe, it wasn't just that it didn't happen. I was predicting beforehand it would not happen. Because I've got a pretty good political instinct and eye. And here's the deal. It's not going to happen here this time around. The American public is not going to move away from me as an average voter. And again, I'm here for two reasons, pal. One, to rebuild the economy for hardworking middle-class people, give everybody a shot. Just a straight shot. Everybody gets a fair chance, number one. Number two, remember all this talk about how I don't have the black support? Come on, give me a break. Come with me. Watch. I'm getting so frustrated by the elites. Now, I'm not talking about you guys, but about the elites in the party who they know so much more. But if any of these guys don't think I should run against me, go ahead, announce the president. Challenge me at the convention.
He's just an angry old man, isn't he? I mean, that's why the Biden campaign should probably use their strategy from 2020, and that's put him in the basement. Take him back to Delaware, lock him up in the basement, don't let him out till after November the 5th. Because every time he opens his mouth, he makes his reelection effort that much harder. Hey, which again is fine with me. Keep him out there. Book more events is what I say. The additional calls for Biden to stand aside from some of the senior Democrats come after the president's interview last week with ABC News, which was supposed to sort of correct the mistake made during the poor showing in the debate, but he didn't do any better. He didn't do any better with George Stephanopoulos, and you can't ask for a more friendly interview than George Stephanopoulos. Members of the Democrat Party leadership have repeatedly urged the president to quickly schedule more unscripted events and town halls to continually demonstrate his vitality and energy, which is why we're seeing him out there so often. But every time he does, he has another gaffe. I mean, just like the one this week where he's talking to donors, and he's talking about how, and this is in Philadelphia, and he's talking about how Philadelphia has always come through for him in a big way. And he even said when he was running for the U.S. Senate that Philadelphia always came through and put him across the finish line. Well, guess what, folks? People in Philadelphia can't vote for the U.S. Senate in Delaware. I mean, the guy has lost it. I mean, it makes no sense. Every time they put him out there, he makes up something. He can't even stick to the script that they have written out for him on the teleprompters. And every time he veers off of the script, he screws up again. He comes up with another gaffe, to the point that even the mainstream media is starting to turn on Joe Biden. You agree? Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Firmin Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. As always, your text messages are welcome, as are your emails, joey@joeyhudson.com. I really enjoyed it. And by the way, I kept up with your text messages while I was away last week. I did not have a chance to respond to all of them, but I did read them. So I'm glad that you kept those text messages coming. We're going to kind of get up to date as best we can today. Paul writes, I just forwarded an article from the Epic Times. There's a case of the plague in Colorado. I'm betting the CDC had that exact thing happen in time with election interference. Lockdown, exclamation, exclamation. Only don't secure the borders. Yeah, you're right, Paul. I mean, look, we could have another, and there's starting to be whispers of COVID again. And by the way, I've had several family members who have tested positive for COVID just in the past few days. So it's not an imaginary thing. But again, we all know that COVID is like a modern day flu. But I guarantee you that the Democrats are going to be ramping up efforts. And it would not surprise me at all. Would it you? If suddenly the CDC starts reporting elevated COVID test results and try to scare people again at staying at home. The big problem with this is I'm afraid the people they'll scare at staying at home is probably the Democrats this round. We'll see. Susan writes, I heard a Morning Joe clip where Biden said that 14 million Democrats voted for him. Is this an admission that 64 million of his 81 million votes were fake? Susan, you're paying way too close attention here. They don't want you down in the weeds. Good catch, though. Jordan writes, the left keeps screaming that no one is above the law, that the president should not have immunity. But do they not realize that if the president did not have the immunity that he does, Biden, Clinton, Obama, Carter, and Bush would all be sitting in prison right now? Fred writes, good morning. It's my belief that the establishment allowed for and promoted the debate with the purpose of convincing Jill and Biden's handlers that he needed to step aside in some fashion. The debate settled the competency question in any objective observer's mind. It has also served to motivate Democrats and may have been enough to convince many voters that Trump has already won. That is a very dangerous equation. Now, that's true because we have to, Fred, you're right, we have to get people out to vote. Trump does not win until all the votes are counted. And we have to make sure that people get out to vote. We can't let our friends, our family, our church friends think, well, Trump's leading in all the polls. He's going to win. So, you know, I get busy on that election day and I don't go. And by the way, I agree with your theory there too, Fred. I do believe, and I don't know who it is. Someday we may read about it in a book. But someone in the inner circle, in Joe Biden's inner circle, allowed that debate to be set up. Someone kind of encouraged Joe Biden like he often likes to do. He likes to brag. He likes to play the tough guy. And somebody played to his ego, and he kept saying, I'll debate you anywhere. I'll debate you anywhere. And they threw out the gauntlet, and Trump took him up on it. And whoever this person was, I think they were purposely trying to sabotage Joe Biden because they knew that he would not be capable of taking on Donald Trump on the debate stage. And I think that they are getting exactly what they had hoped to get, the response. And that is senior Democrat officials calling for Joe Biden to step aside. The scary part of that for you and me is that if he does step aside, look who we have. I mean, they're all coalescing around Kamala Harris. I mean, all of these Democrat leaders who were on the phone on Sunday talking about Joe Biden should step aside, they all have pledged their support to Kamala Harris. That would be a disaster. Tony writes on the text line, Joey, it's so funny watching Trump break people like he does. Biden truly got exposed about his health, and I hate it because now comes the conversation about replacing him. You're right, Tony. I mean, that's a conversation that we really want to avoid, don't we? We do not want Joe Biden replaced. Although I think, again, whoever this person is, whoever this mystery person is who set this up, they know that Joe Biden can't win. And they're trying to hold on to power. They know that if there's not a Democrat in the White House, they lose their job, and they're wanting to hold on to power. Boyd writes, earmarks in legislation. I think they should only be allowed when budget is met because of savings from other changes, and there are no deficit. Thank you. Boyd, I'm assuming you're talking about the earmarks that I mentioned that were in South Carolina's budget. And Governor McMaster did veto some of those. So sometime this week, we're going to talk about those because we need to pay a little attention to it. In fact, maybe on Thursday, when we have Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evett on, we'll talk with her about those earmarks that the governor vetoed and dig a little deeper. Some of them, I understand, were nonprofits that had family ties with legislators. Surprise, surprise, surprise. That's the reason we don't need earmarks to begin with. If earmarks could be a good thing, and I have some legislator friends who sell me on this, but the problem is they don't want to establish a system to avoid the fraud. And some of these that the governor, it's my understanding, some of the ones the governor vetoed had not really been thought out that clearly, had not had the oversight. They just had a legislator friend who put in the request and they were able to get it. And that's what we have to try to avoid. Your comments are welcome as well. Send me a quick text. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Hey, by the way, one quick thing before we wrap up today. In a new Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs research survey, and this was done throughout June, most Americans approve of the recent conviction of Hunter Biden and believe he should go to jail, that he should serve prison time, but they don't say the same thing for President Donald Trump. In June, 60% of U.S. adults said it was right for the president's son to have been convicted of the 3 felony gun charges. 57% also said he should be sentenced to federal prison. Among Democrats, 59% agreed with the June 11th verdict that Hunter lied about his crack cocaine addiction when purchasing a handgun in October of 2018, and they believe he should go to jail for it. The Democrats were evenly split, 49 to 49, about whether the first son deserved a long prison sentence for this. I don't know what their definition of long is. Meanwhile, just 46% approved of Donald Trump's 34-count Manhattan felony conviction for falsifying business records. Because, folks, people see right through that. They see that what Alvin Bragg and his Democrat cohorts have done to the president, and they understand that if they do it to him, they'll do it to them. According to the poll, Democrat respondents by 80% and 78% respectively agreed with the statements that Trump's 34-count Manhattan felony conviction for falsifying business records to porn star Stormy Daniels was not appropriate. Should not have taken place. Half of the respondents disagreed, 50%, and said the 45th president should not be sentenced to prison, including 86% of Republicans and 46% of independents believe that he should not be given any prison time. We'll see. Of course, as you know, that with this immunity decision by the Supreme Court, all this may go away. We'll see about that as well. At the very least, sentencing has been delayed until September. Again, we had all this breaking news last week, and where was I? I was on a cruise ship, wanting to tell you about it, wanting to talk with you about it, and I'm out in Alaska Bay, which was beautiful, by the way. Absolutely gorgeous. If you've never been on an Alaskan cruise and you have the opportunity, be sure and go. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button. Send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and if we're going to win in November, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way than encouraging them to listen to Just the Truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to MyPillow.com.